DuckTalks is part of Res TV's network of podcasts. Check out res.tv for other great podcasts. It's the week of Monday, September 10th, and you're listening to episode 40 of DuckTalks. Hey there, and welcome to DuckTalks. We're going to talk about all things DuckTales, and I'm one of your hosts. My name's Mitch.
I'm Pirate Steven. My name is Pirate Steven.
And I'm Josh, CC Runner 524.
Been a crazy couple weeks. We took last week off, so it was a holiday, and we felt like we could spend some time with our family and maybe take a break since there wasn't a lot of news going on. And we come back to this week, and looks like we've got a lot to talk about this week.
What? We have a lot to talk about when there's not a DuckTales episode? How can that be?
That's how it goes. Nothing from Frank and Gomez, though. Have you noticed that?
He deserves a little break every now and then.
He's hard at work at season 2. That's what it is, right?
Or season 3.
Ooh.
We'll be talking a little bit more about season 2 here in a few moments. Before we do, since we took a break, what's going on with you guys?
So we just announced for us that me and my wife are having a baby. Ooh.
Yeah, insert all the woos.
Yeah, all the woohoos.
Della, if it's a girl.
And Donald, if it's a boy, if they're twins.
This will be our first one, so it'll be like this. I'll have 1, Mitch will have 2, and Steve's got 3, right? 1, 2, 3.
There we go.
So yeah, the baby's going to be due in March. We don't know yet if it's going to be a boy or girl, but we'll find out probably the next few months. But I'm going to be getting ready for baby mode at the beginning of next year.
That's a good March is a good month. My oldest is March 11. I'm March 12, and my youngest is March 17. So that's a busy week at my house.
Yeah, I bet. Well, we don't have any in March in our family. Everybody's either around Christmas time or around Mother's Day and Father's Day, like for my family. So it's kind of a good time away from all the other birthdays and holidays and stuff. So I think it'll come out to be a pretty good time.
Yeah, my birthday's about a half a year from everybody else in my family. I am on the total opposite end, and I love it. I love having my birthday all to myself. In the summer, makes it even better. But yeah, it'd be really cool to it's really nice. March is a good month. You guys are going to have so much fun getting ready. Happy for you guys.
Yeah, I'm already planning out my DuckTales watch through. When the baby comes out, we're going to sit in front of the TV and be like, okay, this is Scrooge McDuck. This is Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Start taking notes.
Yep.
So
experience it through someone else's eyes.
So here's the big question. Do you start with OG DuckTales, or do you go to 2017 DuckTales?
I was actually talking that with my wife a little bit. I think I'm going to start with OG DuckTales, let them see the original and appreciate the original, and then see the new ones. And then by then, hopefully, there'll be like 2 or 3 seasons, and then we'll have lots to watch through.
That's smart. I mean, that's the Star Wars answer. So he's going to show the baby episode 4, 5, and 6 before the prequels.
Absolutely, and then the baby is watching Star Wars.
See, I'm on the total opposite end of that. I'm a chronological order kind of person. So, and we actually even, because 3 is way too intense for the girls, we did 1 and 2, and then jumped into the original trilogy. And the girls still haven't seen 3. Anakin is kind of Paisley's hero, and I just can't. Yeah, so she knows. We're kind of off topic, but she knows that Darth Vader is Anakin. And she asked me one day, we were watching Rebels, and she goes, "Daddy, so Anakin's not with Ahsoka anymore, right?" I was like, "No, baby, he's not." He goes, "Huh, how'd that happen? I was like, well, there's a whole nother movie you haven't seen. You tell me when you're ready.
And bring the tissues. Yes.
Right. And so I'm walking around the house all the time going, I have the high ground. She doesn't get it.
Yeah.
So cool. How about you, Pirate? What's up with you?
Oh, man. Kids went back to school and was working. Just waiting for some new DuckTales. I've been doing, we've been trying to do some Kingdom Hearts coverage for the blog, and that's been going really well. Teaming up with Diamond Select Toys for some cool stuff that we're going to be showcasing on the blog. So just getting pumped up for video games, Kingdom Hearts, and that new Spider-Man amazing game that came out. So
man, everybody's playing Spider-Man.
Everybody's playing Spider-Man. It's the thing to do.
Yeah. So Kingdom Hearts, that's first of the year?
Yeah, January.
I'm thinking I'm going to end up doing that probably about Christmas, but I haven't decided if I'm going to get the big set or just the new game. Still
yeah,
undecided.
You can really go. I mean, it's up to you, judging how much time you have. Whether or not you can just watch cutscenes on YouTube for the first ones, or and just dive right into the third one if you want. But I feel like after you play the third one, you're going to like it so much that you're going to want to go back and play the first and second one.
That's a good point. Well, Lexi and I have been watching the cutscenes, and it's got me more confused than I was before I watched the cutscenes. It
can be confused. Yeah, it can be confusing.
I had a whole chat going on in our Discord the other night. I was supposed to be working on something, and I don't know how it happened, but next thing I knew, I was in a chat with a lot of people in our Discord, and they were explaining things to me. I was like, I don't really get what's up with this guy or what's going on with that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it, and Lexi's getting excited about it, and I'm hoping that's something we can play together. I know it's one player, but yeah. So yeah, we're doing some stuff there. That's been cool. I've really enjoyed as you've been getting excited about this with Diamond, and I thought that was really cool of them. And just seeing that partnership happen was very, very cool. So trying to learn a little more about it.
Yeah, they just say, I guess there's an app as well for Kingdom Hearts, and they're trying to get people to play the app, and if you do something in the app, you unlock a special Keyblade in Kingdom Hearts 3. So we'll have more info on that when we can. But hopefully Jason can tell us how to do that or give us a code.
So this is the mobile game you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen that either. Now, there was a trailer that came out like today.
Yeah, they dropped a trailer today that showed off a little bit of the Big Hero 6 land that they're going to go to, San Francisco. So that should be a fun level.
It's one of my favorite properties. That's one of my favorite Disney movies, and I've enjoyed the new show. So there's another thing pulling me into that game. But let's talk about some DuckTales. If you're wondering what's going on with me, and I know you're not, but if you are wondering what's going on with me, I'll talk about that in a little bit because Dragon Con is going to be part of this podcast. Before we do that, we have had a little bit of news about DuckTales this week. Like I said earlier, we were a little surprised. One of our friends, and I'm only seeing one of those images, they got split up in the notes, so you might have to scroll to see it. But one of our fans, this is actually Pink Pearl in disguise on her role-playing account, but sent us a image from, this was a Polish wiki page. Now, being a wiki page, we're not going to say that this is definite, and she would not say this is definite, but there are some episode titles and dates on here. Not sure where the information came from, but it's indicating the end of October could be a possibility for new episodes. Not sure if that's might be overseas or in the U.S. We know with DuckTales, there's no telling. I mean, it's not a given with the Disney Channel that the U.S. is going to get these episodes first. So, but an indicator that October is a possibility.
Yeah, that's true. I think we've seen before where other episodes that weren't aired in the U.S. were aired in different countries. I think that happened in the first season. I think it was in Canada, and I don't know if it was in other places too. But they had episodes that aired here that didn't air there, and vice versa.
Yeah, it was like in Sweden, but the Russians leaked it.
Those Russian hackers.
Yeah. Hey, if it's in a wiki, it must be true, right?
It's exactly. It must be true. It's not like you can just edit those. But we thought that was enough news to bring up. I mean, we're waiting to see, just like everyone else. We're scouring the internet, looking for any indication, creeping on Frank and Gomez, just seeing, what we could find out. But we haven't heard anything yet. I think most of our news this week is going to come from Duck merch, though. So let's jump into that.
We got Duck merch. Woo-hoo.
So we've talked about the new DuckTales pin a few weeks back. I think Josh already got his hands on one. Or at least he took some pictures of one. We don't know that he has it.
Well, I have it. I have it in my hands. I just haven't done a review yet. I've been busy.
But yeah, so it's been available at Disneyland for a few weeks now, and we were expecting it to show up in Florida sometime this month, and we received word this week that it was spotted at Pin Traders. Not available in the parks yet. I guess from what I've heard, when a pin first gets released, it'll usually show up at Disney Springs at Pin Traders and then spread out.
Yeah, it's a huge location, and yeah, I could totally see them debuting it there. It might also be Epcot has a lot of pin locations, so it might be at Epcot as well. We'll have to see next time.
Yeah, and in the future, I wouldn't be surprised to hear that it's at Animal Kingdom as well for the Dino Bash, because they have some DuckTales merch there.
I know Disneyland, it was kind of hard to find. I don't know if it's at more places now, but I did look at a few of the main stores that had pins, and they had some of the Disney Afternoon stuff, but they didn't have the new DuckTales one. And I found it at the World of Disney. It's currently the World of Disney is being worked on, and so parts of the store are actually outside, and so they actually moved all their pins outside in a little kiosk, and I found it out front of the World of Disney on downtown Disney.
Yeah, but that's not the only pin set, right?
Yeah. Nick sent us a heads up last night, wasn't it?
Oh, you're talking about the ones that were supposed to be special released, right?
There's a new Disney Afternoon collection coming out, and they're like in mystery boxes or blind boxes.
Yeah, you get 2 pins in them, and they're in blind boxes. I forget the actual price of them, though.
Now, we reported on this a while back. Was it you, Josh, that came across this? It was at some sort of event in California?
Yeah, they had a special event where these were limited to that event, and there was no word on if they would be available outside of the event, and it seemed that if there were extras that they would be available, and it seems like they weren't sold out of them, so they're available, I guess, now at other locations.
Yeah, so it's $19.99 for 2 pins. And looks like there's like 2 sets. I mean, they're all packaged together, but there's like 2 themes. One of the themes is a television set with, an image of the show, like main character and the logo. And then the second set of 6, there's paint buckets, and they're not fully colored. It's really cool. I especially like that Darkwing.
That's what I was going to say. The Darkwing's a good one.
Yeah.
But you know what? You'll find it on eBay, I'm sure, and it'll be probably the same price or higher than a mystery box of 2 pins. So
yeah,
we'll see how much that goes for.
And you get the one you want.
Right. That's the good part.
But there's quite a few in that set that I wouldn't mind having. So, I mean, I don't do pins, but there's a wide variety of Disney Afternoon pins that are pretty good.
Yeah, I'd be happy with any of these but the Bonkers. And nothing against Bonkers. I just don't like Bonkers.
Bonkers had his, I think, 25th 25th anniversary this week.
Wow.
He's an old man.
Now,
old Bobcat.
I just never watched Bonkers. I don't know why. It's not that I don't like him. I don't know what he is.
It'd be good to have Bonkers on the new Disney streaming series, just to reintroduce people to him and Gargoyles and some of those other Disney afternoon shows that deserve a rewatch, like Mighty Ducks.
Yep, that's got to be part of the new program. So there's a lot coming out for pin traders and people who are trying not to get into pin trading like us. But there's also some new shirts. I mean, nothing for us, but more kids shirts were found on shopdisney.com. So if you've got little fans of DuckTales, or if you're a little fan of DuckTales, you can go to the website and order you up some shirts. That new shirt with the triplets was really cool. I'd probably own one of those in an adult size.
Yeah, it is cool. And I'm waiting for the people to ask, where's Webby?
I'm already asking.
Yeah, why did all the kid sizes get all the cool shirts, and then and the adult sizes don't get the same pattern? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, we just got the McDuck Industry shirt, and that's sold out because it's so popular. Mm-hmm. And then there's no more adult ones.
Well, anytime I go into the Disney store, I'll see a couple of kid shirts that I'm like, if they had that in adult size, I would buy it. And then I go look at the adult shirts, and I'm like, I would never buy this. So I don't know. My taste is just not matching up with Disney stores' adult T-shirts. We need some XXX extra large kids shirts.
Well, it's kind of like, the kids' socks. We posted about that, and all the adults bought it. bought Target out of socks.
And they do fit adult feet, though, as long as you're not in a size 13.
Exactly. Yeah.
But, that's hope. Or not hope. I'm not going to say it's hope, because obviously the show's doing well and it's moving merchandise. But it's nice to see just another item show up at Shop Disney. And it's not one of the Zazzle products. It's, one of their shirts. So it's a shirt that should show up in the stores. But I would like to see more Webby merchandise. I got two girls who are huge fans of DuckTales. I know you've been joking about that. I think that was your first response to me when we were talking about the shirt. But I'm like, but it's true.
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, she's definitely one of the most popular I would say newcomer, but there was a Webby in the past one, but this character is so much more dynamic and awesome than the other one. I would expect a lot more stuff with Webby on it, and between the October to Christmas time frame, I'm sure they'll be able to get something or get more stuff out there with her and the rest of the peeps.
Well, Disney kind of goes slow when they start something just to see how they judge the market, and then they flood the market when they realize people are gonna buy the stuff. So hopefully they'll flood the market with more DuckTales.
Yeah, that they do. They definitely take it easy in the beginning. But I agree. I think coming up in October and November, maybe getting a little closer to Christmas, we're definitely going to see more and more merchandise. Well, that's it for news. And for Duck Merch, we've got one more segment we're going to talk about. Before I get into that, let's take just a moment to tell you where you can stay in contact with us throughout the week. So this is a podcast where we talk about things, but that's not the whole reason why we do it. I mean, we enjoy talking, but honestly, the three of us, we talk about this stuff all day anyway. The podcast is just so we can get conversations started with you. And there's a few places you can do that. So you can go to Twitter, and you can find us at DuckTalks. And follow us there. We're constantly sharing. As soon as we find out about stuff, we are sharing it with you. And you can also go to DuckTalks.com. That's our blog where we review things. We've been reviewing books. We've reviewed comics. We're reviewing toys. If it's related to the Disney Afternoon or DuckTales, we're putting it out there on that blog. We are also starting to put a little effort into our YouTube channel. So Pirate's been doing some unboxings. I think you've got 2 up there now.
Ooh, 2.
They're a lot of work, though, right?
They are a lot of work. I try to do it in one take because if you unbox it and then you have to retake it, then it's not really an unboxing video. So but definitely subscribe, so we can get eventually our YouTube play button.
Yeah, we're a ways from that, but we appreciate all the help we can get getting there. But so we also, I ran into someone at Dragon Con, and he asked if we had thought about putting the podcast on YouTube, and I was like, well, we don't do we do an audio podcast. And he was like, but I listen to podcasts on YouTube, and if I was going about my business and you were on my list, I would listen to it. So got thinking about that and played around with it. And last week's episode 30, or not last week, I guess that was 2 weeks ago, episode 39 of DuckTalks is on YouTube. And I'm going to continue working on that, so you can follow us at YouTube as well. If using a podcatcher is difficult for you and you'd rather listen on YouTube, you now have that option with DuckTalks. If you'd like to join us for a chat, we do every other week. We are currently doing Beyond DuckTales, where we talk about the Don Rosa library that Fantagraphics has released. We are up to volume 4. 2 weeks from this episode, we'll be talking about volume 4 of the Don Rosa library, and you can join us on that discovery on Discord. We call it Beyond DuckTales. That's everywhere they can find us, right?
And on Twitter?
I did Twitter.
Tumblr. Did you do Tumblr?
Oh, I didn't do Tumblr. Yeah, you can find us on Tumblr too. We're at DuckTalks. I haven't gotten used to Tumblr yet. There's a lot of DuckTales stuff going on Tumblr though. I need to hand that off.
Did you say how they can email us?
They can email us at. I hate saying it that way because it just sounds wrong. But you can email us at ducktalkspod@gmail.com. So yeah, that's all the places you can get in touch with us. And like I said, we enjoy the conversation. Let's talk about Dragon Con. How did you guys enjoy Dragon Con?
We live vicariously through you.
Your post and Aaron Sparrow posts were the most entertaining.
Man, Dragon Con is phenomenal. And man, I had such a good time there. But it was so crazy that I did not get to do half the stuff I'd planned on doing or shared nearly as much as I'd planned on sharing. And I'm still working on stuff from Dragon Con just because it was so awesome. And I'm glad you guys are going to give me an opportunity to finally talk about it. That was my biggest issue with taking last week off. I was like, it's a holiday, but I really want to talk about Dragon Con.
I want to get your thoughts together and get it all together, and you can really talk about what you went through.
When you go to a big convention, you need at least a week to recuperate from it.
It's the truth. True. And I was only there for a whole day, but I mean,
an hour.
An hour. Yeah, I was in and I was out. But man, it really was awesome. Dragon Con's an awesome convention. It's different. There's a local comic convention that happens every year, and I've been a couple of times in a local city, and it's interesting. I mean, it's a good place to find some stuff that you've been looking for, comics and art. Sometimes they have some good artists and stuff, and I keep pushing for them to invite some people that I'm a little more interested in, but they ignore me. But going to something like this is just incredible. The first time I went was actually last year, and I took the whole family, and that was nuts because we had a stroller. But it's a fun time. It's in Atlanta, so if you've never been to Dragon Con, let me tell you just a little bit about it. It's a fan convention, so a lot of comic conventions, a lot of the larger comic conventions are more like industry conventions, and they're ran by the companies. What's going on is dictated by the companies that are there. DragonCon's totally different in that it's there is a company that is running things, but they're allowing different fandoms to put together what's their own schedules and what's going on. So they're divided up into 36 tracks. There are 36 different fandoms officially represented at DragonCon. And I mean, just a wide variety of stuff too. I mean, of course, there's a Star Wars track, but there's also fantasy tracks and anime tracks and film tracks, puppetry tracks, just tabletop gaming, and video games, just all kinds of stuff going on. And you can follow just that track and probably stay in a couple of hotels instead of having to go across the whole place. But it's but there's all this programming just for each track. The convention itself isn't held in like an expo center or something like, it's not held in an expo center. It's held in 5 hotels and 2 other buildings in downtown Atlanta. And these are not small buildings. These are the high rises in Atlanta. It's just nuts, the size of this. I mean, we're talking, it spans 5 blocks. And when you get there, there's people everywhere. One of the greatest things about DragonCon is over half of the people are cosplaying.
So what did you go as?
Well, I was of the other half. Yeah, I was t-shirts and shorts. There's a ton of stuff to do. You lose a whole day. Like I said, my day was gone before I knew it. I was excited about getting there. I was planning on getting there a lot earlier. But I'm driving from the north down to Atlanta, and I had planned on parking at a particular place where I've parked before and rode the train into downtown, and I get there and it's full. Now keep in mind there's a couple football games and estimated 85,000 people there, and I think it ended up being 80,000 people at DragonCon. And I went on Saturday. We were pleasantly surprised to be invited by DragonCon to come out to cover some of the Disney Duck stuff. There's not an official track yet for Disney Ducks, but we might be working on that. So I get there and I can't catch a train, can't park, and I'm looking for a place. And I end up finding, because that was near a mall, and so I found mall security. I was like, hey, is there any place I can park to get on here at the train station? They were like, no, you need to go up. And you probably ought to just go up 2 more trains, 2 more stops. Don't even try the next one. Go up 2. And so I go up, further down the line in the direction I came from, and was able to get a parking space. And at this point, I'm like 2 hours beyond when I had wanted to be there. So I'd missed the Catherine Tate panel. And yes, I had planned on asking a Magica Dispel question. I probably would have been the only person there asking a Magica Dispel question, but that had been the plan. But I was looking forward to sitting in on that panel. She was just going to talk about her career and her experience and everything. So I thought that would be cool. But I missed out on that. I wasn't even parked by that time. And got on the train, and the MARTA system, if you ever go to DragonCon, that's the way to go. Maybe park a little further out or get there earlier. But the train ride was uneventful. A lot of people on the train going to Georgia Tech football game, and a lot of people on the train dressed as SpongeBob and Aquaman and stuff. It's just crazy. And get there, and there was a little bit of mix-up on where I needed to get my badge, and so it cost me a lot of time. But DragonCon, the media relations people were phenomenal. They sent someone to get me. They walked me back so that they could make sure I could get in the building where I needed to be, and they escorted me to the media relations center. And everybody there was great. I got to meet Dan, who runs the media relations side of DragonCon, and he's just a passionate person. He was talking with me. He's been doing DragonCon, like, I don't know, he didn't tell me how long, but his daughter, who was the person who came and got me, was telling me that she'd been coming to DragonCon since she was little. So they've been doing it a very long time. but he was, we were talking about our website and the podcast, and he was telling me about, some people who were there to look for and some things. And he's convinced that Rescue Rangers is the where the whole furries thing got started. And I said, I could see that.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
All the Gidget furries.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, they were great, and they got me situated and set, and I headed back out into the chaos. They were located in the Hyatt Regency, and that's kind of the middle of Dragon Con. And each of the hotels, like I said, the tracks are, they try to keep all of the panels and contests and parties and stuff, together so that you can follow that track and not have to, run across town. But, man, it's just nuts. I can't explain it. There's just people everywhere, and it's for blocks of the city. And then you walk into, one of the largest hotels I've ever been in, and it's wall to wall people dressed up as Overwatch and Batman and, different horror movies, Doctor Who, just all kinds of stuff. There's people everywhere. I did see one person dressed up as Gadget, but she was too far away, and it was while I was being led to where I needed to be to get my badge, so I didn't get to get a picture or talk to them or anything. But that was the only time I saw someone, because I had my eyes out. I was going to see if I could catch someone and get some pictures.
I think I saw somebody did a cosplay of Scrooge and Della while they're there.
Yeah, I saw some online. There was definitely a lot of people that were going to, the Darkwing Alley, where you have Silvani and Tad Stones and Aaron Sparrow. They are all together along with Amy, and it was a great spot. They were at the America's Mart, which they moved over. They actually added a building to Dragon Con this year. They added building 2 of America's Mart, and they moved. It was interesting. They moved because, like I said, I got to go last year. They moved the artists to the 4th floor of that building, and I kind of heard mixed reaction on that. As far as I think some of the artists were worried that they wouldn't get as much traffic as before, but it was slammed. There were people everywhere. So I think they were fine. I came up the back side of that building because most of what I wanted to do was to talk with, those guys, and also to speak with Don Rosa, who was there. And so I walked through the bottom level of America's Mart because I knew there was another set of escalators in the back. So I went up to the 4th floor from there, and it's all kind of disorienting because there's so many people and so much going on and so many cool things to look at. And so I'm walking through there, and I see Don Rosa sitting there. And, I'm all excited, and I walk up and, I introduce myself and tell him, I'm a new fan, and I'm, falling in love with his work and reading through the Fantagraphics collection library. And we're talking about things, and he was telling me, that he was talking about, his location being in the back. And I was like, oh, I came in the back. That's right. I thought you were in the front. And he was like, oh, well, I guess I had the best spot then. Being right here, because he was. I mean, as soon as you came up the backside, he was right there looking at you. But really cool table. He had a couple of tables, prints everywhere, and of course a big basket of chilies. Don't call them peppers. Stephen, when you met him a few months back, did he have any chilies on his table?
He did not. He just had his prints, his lithographs.
They might have been out of season. I think he said something about their heart, them being in season or something. I don't grow chilies, but it's funny because everyone walking up would ask it. Well, first of all, a kid walks up while I'm talking to him and puts his hand on them, and he swats him away and says, "That's food. You don't just walk around and touch people's food." and the dad's just kind of looking at him like, "What's going on?" And he says something to the dad, and the dad grins and says, "Kid's got to learn somehow." All right. So he had a whole basket full of chilies. Not only that, he had multiple bags behind his table full of chilies that he was giving away. Apparently he grows chilies at his house, and anytime someone mentions that they're peppers, he explains to them of how that misconception happened.
How does that surprise me?
They're not peppers, they are chilies. Christopher Columbus called them peppers because he was trying to, to say that he had made it to the Indies, and that, he was sent after spice, he was sent after pepper, and he came back with, this fruit saying that, he had peppers. This is peppers. And so we call them peppers when in fact they're chilies, which is
I know he has the not duck. This is not DuckTalks sign. Did he have the this is not peppers sign?
No, but he totally needs one. That's going to be a recommendation we need to send.
Yeah.
Well, I always think of them as chilies, and then like peppers are more like bell peppers, like the bigger. I don't know.
In my neck of the woods, they're all peppers. Yeah, I didn't even get a chance to make that mistake because it was the person in front of me who did it first. But I got to hear the story, and it's cool. I mean, he likes that kind of detail, and it's there so he can have that conversation, and he likes giving them away. He was giving them away in bags. And there were people who would stop and just talk with him about the chilies. But yeah, two full tables, prints everywhere, a lot of great work. And I stood there, I would move out of the way and let other people talk with him for a little while. And I was admiring his work and trying to decide which print or if I was going to buy multiple prints.
Yeah, that's when I met him at MegaCon, I had the same type of situation where there was so much goodness at his booth, and it's hard to narrow it down because you would just want it all.
And I didn't realize the size of them. It was much bigger than anything I had to protect it. So I had to roll it up, and then of course it got a little like minor damage on the train back. Nothing that won't be covered when I put it in something, but yeah, they're really large.
Yeah, I bought plastic holders for that size print. I guess one of the other booths was selling things like that, which is smart because you have a booth like that, and with as much like posters and giveaways they have, and people selling prints, they probably do very well at conventions.
I didn't even think to look for that. That's a good point. But yeah, I ended up picking the later because I came back. I'd spent a little bit of time with him, talking with him, telling him about us, and that we were fans. And I brought up you meeting him and having the Scrooge sun stashes, and he remembered you.
Wow.
Yeah, from the sun stashes. He said that you were the guy that turned him on to DuckTales and started his new love for DuckTales. That's not true.
But I did.
But you did. He did say, because I said, I grew up with that show. And he goes, that's a misconception. I don't hate DuckTales. And I was like, I didn't say you hated DuckTales. I just didn't use the word. But he was, he said, I thought it was a fabulous show. I thought it was, probably one of the best, cartoons on television. So yeah, we talked about a few things. I talked about a few of the Easter eggs that included him in the show and in the new show. And overall, it was a fun experience. It was fun meeting him. Same thing that I've heard from a lot of places. He doesn't get as much traffic as he used to, and that's kind of disappointing. I'd like, his work is so phenomenal, but there just wasn't as many people. Now I will say, when I came back, because when I was there, it sounded like he had a really slow morning, which was not long after the parade. So I would imagine it's slow for everybody in the morning, that on Saturday morning. Because Dragon Con has a big parade that I didn't even talk about. Because I missed it. Because I was trying to find a parking space. But when I came back later, it was probably a couple hours later, I had to wait in a mini line to see him. And even then, there were people all over the table mostly listening to the Chili story because he was telling it again. And but it was a good time. I'm glad I got to meet him, and I hope that he is back at Dragon Con again next year, and maybe we can talk him into doing something with us there, a panel or an interview or something. He did not say no to coming on Duck Talks. He didn't say yes either. And we did talk about the Scrooge mystery as well, the documentary, and he corrected me when I called it a documentary. Or he didn't correct me, but he says he calls it a documentary. And I was like, yeah, it's cool.
We'll just tell him. We'll get him on a show, and we'll just tell him our show's name is Rosa Talks.
Here we go. That's what I should have opened with. I host a podcast called Rosa Talks.
And then it'd be his favorite show ever.
Well, he didn't like that we named our Fantagraphics book club Beyond DuckTales.
Oh, you told him that? That's a mistake.
It was a mistake. I didn't even think about it until he was like, but it came out before DuckTales. I was like, I know.
Oof.
But I grew up on DuckTales. That's where the passion started for me. But yeah, no, it was great. And after that, I went through looking for the Darkwing crew. And great time with them. They were phenomenal. I did get a few promises to come on the podcast, so I'm looking forward to that. Hope we can include it in some of our Dragon Con coverage. Talk about their experience there, because they were having a blast. They had a great time there. And there were people constantly coming up to their booths. Both people who knew about the comic and had comics to get signed, and people who found it for the first time. It was really cool.
Yeah, the Darkwing crew is always a blast. Sparrow and Stones and Sylvani and Memberson are a lot of fun. And whenever I've never had the opportunity to meet Tad Stones, but he's a riot, and Sylvani and Sparrow are great. I saw them at D23 2 times in a row, so always glad to see them.
Yeah, Tad Stones was the whole reason I went to Dragon Con last year, and I was excited to find out that he was going to be that close, because he's from the West Coast, and I was glad to get to see him again, because I met him last time, but I had the kids with me. It makes it, you know this, it kind of changes the dynamic when you're trying to watch your kids and have a conversation with someone.
Oh, you can't go to the booth. There's like rules. You can't go to the booths. Just like you were telling that Don Rosa story about how the kid touched the pepper chilies. Yeah, it's the kids would get eyed constantly. So whenever I was going to booths that I actually wanted to pay attention to, I had to tell them to sit here and I'll be back. Because if not, you get the evil eyes.
Well, I was excited to have another opportunity to talk with Tad, and I didn't have kids to watch. So, and I was, like I said, I've had a few conversations with him online, and he's always a joy to talk with, and he enjoys talking about his experience in animation. And I find what he says fascinating, just learning about, what it was like back during the Disney afternoon, because, he was involved in DuckTales, and then, Darkwing Duck and Rescue Rangers are his creations. And so, it was really cool to have that opportunity to just, stand there and kind of talk with him a little bit. He remembered me, and I didn't think he would remember me. But, he knew about DuckTalks, and of course we talked to him a lot. And he knew that I was there for some art, so he was like, all right, check out what I got. And, I have a really great piece from him last year. This year I decided I was going for a volume. I wanted to get, I've got a great DuckTales piece. I wanted something with Negaduck, and I wanted something Rescue Rangers. He was almost completely sold out of Negaduck. Thought he was sold out of Negaduck. And I'm thumbing through his book, and I found one card. I was like, okay, I'm not ready to purchase yet, but I definitely want this if you'll hold it for me. And so he slid it back for me while I was thumbing through, because I was trying to decide. He had a lot of Rescue Rangers stuff. And but they're these little cards, kind of like baseball card size. And I plan on putting them in something with the commission piece that he did from me last year. But very cool experience. And it was great seeing all the people come up and start talking with him. And there was a guy that he had bought the Rescue Rangers figures from Funko. And I was like, why didn't I think of that? Because he got them signed. And I was like, man, that is such a great idea. Why
did he get the backs of it signed, or the figures themselves? So.
They signed the plastic, and I thought that was really cool.
Okay.
Yeah, they signed on the plastic. Aaron Sparrow had some that were also signed at his booth. He had the Darkwing, and I think the Darkwing Pops is what he had. But yeah, just I enjoy spending time with Tad. I can't wait for us to have him on the show sometime, just so we can talk with him and hear some of those stories. And phenomenal artwork. And yes, then they will tell you, they will sign anything you bring. If you're a fan and you bring something to them, they will sign it for free. They have stuff for sale there too, but they'll sign anything you've already bought that they've worked on. Now, last time I was there, last year when I was at DragonCon, I didn't get to talk with James Silvani all that much. My kids wouldn't stay off his table, and he was trying to do a commission piece of Gizmo Duck, and I was freaking out. So, so when I walked up, I was talking with him and thumbing through. He does the headshots, and last year I bought a Darkwing headshot from him, and he was killing me because they're just so many good ones. And he had Star Wars Rebels headshots. He had Ducktales 2017. He had, everything that I love. They were there, and I was like, man, I can't spend this much money here. And he was like, you absolutely can spend all of your money here. So you guys haven't seen this yet, and I'm going to share it in a little bit. I got a 2017 Darkwing by James Silvani.
Ooh. Whoa.
Yeah,
I was wondering when you're going to share some pictures of what you bought.
Well, yeah, I've been holding out because I wanted to put it in the blog and then send them to you, but I haven't finished that yet. I am working on it. So yeah,
that's great. I haven't seen that. One that he's done yet. So I was hoping you got that or Glom Gold.
He didn't have a Glom Gold, but that doesn't mean he didn't sell it. He did sell. I'm trying to remember what it was. There was one thing that I asked him. Oh, the Della. He did a Della, and he said it was like one of the first things he sold. I'm sending
2017 Della, right?
Yeah, 2017.
Sure, that went fast.
Yeah, next convention, make 20 Dellas.
Well, see, that's part of the thing. He only does one of each. They are original to that convention. So, and he also had a regular Donald, and it was great. He also had 2017 Donald, and it was great. I had a hard time picking. I really did. But I really like this. I like seeing his art style mixed with the 2017. It was cool. And like I said, I've got both versions of Darkwing, so I'm going to put those together in something.
Nice.
But so I was talking with Silvani, and I, told him who I was, that I followed, and we, talk every now and then. And I mentioned I was DuckTalks. He goes, "Oh, you're part of DuckTalks?" And so, we were talking about just all the new stuff with the new show, and had a great time talking with him. And I was like, man, it was really great talking with you. Last time I was here, I didn't get to talk with you at all because my kids were freaking me out. And he didn't admit to it, but I know he remembers. Because I was really worried about that Gizmo Duck picture.
They were Lexi and Paisley, right?
Yeah, I remember those kids.
I remember because you kept saying their names, like, get out of here.
Yeah, back away. And then I had some comics that I needed some signatures on, and I had my Definitively Dangerous edition for Darkwing Duck, and Aaron Sparrow was there. He wasn't there last year, so and Aaron was great. I had a good time talking with him, and he had Allie was with him from Cyclops Prints. And so they were at a booth together. There were some prints that Cyclops had for sale, and so I got to meet her, and she was great. I had a good time talking with them. I probably talked with them the longest. I would have tried to talk with Tad a little bit longer, but he had a lot of people. I had to keep getting out of the way and getting back in line. But yeah, Aaron was great, and he signed everything. I had like 3 comic books and the Definitively Dangerous edition, and he was more than happy to sign it all and talk about the comic and talk about the new show. And they're a great group of guys to meet, to talk with, and I highly recommend it. If you catch them at a show, you've got to meet them if you're fans, even if you're not fans. If you just like ducks in general. So after that, I went back to Don Rose's booth and I bought my print. But I had to wait for a guy who bought 4 prints and had his Fantagraphics collection to get signed. So, when you do that, Don Rosa rolls out the red carpet. Just so you know, if you're worried about taking your Don Rosa collection to get it signed, he keeps a chair in front of the booth, and that's for people who come that are fans of his work. And he will sit down with you and talk about whatever you want to talk about. And he did on one of the collections. He did a sketch, a Beagle Boy sketch for this gentleman. And like I said, this was after personally signing, because he personalizes his, everything, 4 prints. And it was great. It was cool seeing that. I had somewhere I wanted to be. And I was like, oh man, I can't leave here. Because it was too busy. I couldn't get back in. I ended up waiting to get into that building because it was so busy on that day. They'll keep selling tickets forever, badges to get into Dragon Con. But for the buildings, the fire marshals cut it off once so many people get in the building. So there was a line wrapped around outside trying to get in. So I knew if I left, I was not going to get an opportunity to come back, or at least it was very unlikely. So I waited it out, and I missed the Rebels farewell panel. So the stuff that I wanted to do away from the duck stuff didn't happen, and that's okay. Next year, I'm going to plan on being there a little bit longer. But it was great getting to meet all of them. And then I got to go to the Darkwing Duck panel, which they did last year, and I missed it because it was on Saturday. But I got to go to the panel, and I got to sit on the front row just because I was one of the first people in line. And I got to meet some people that knew about our podcast, and that was cool. So thanks to all of y'all, and it was great meeting you. And, I had a great time at Dragon Con, and it just made me get excited about thinking about the potential of what we might be able to do next year if we were able to maybe go to Dragon Con for a few more days. Maybe we could, have some kind of hangout or a get-together, or who knows? I mean, you can get panels in the animation track. Maybe we could come up with a good idea for a DuckTalks panel. There's also a podcasting track at Dragon Con, so, we kind of do that.
We do that.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Get Josh to fly over to see Atlanta. You've seen Atlanta before, haven't you?
I've driven by it. I don't think I've ever spent time there.
So did you drive through it or around it?
I believe we went around it, but it was a long time ago.
It's one of the larger cities I've ever been in. It's kind of intimidating in the middle of the night when it's bumper to bumper traffic. So yeah, that was my experience. I'm hoping we can get some of the people from Dragon Con on the podcast in the next few weeks to talk about their experience. But I had a great time, and if you're in the area and you can make it next year to Dragon Con, highly recommend it. And maybe we can, like I said, maybe we can do something, have a DuckTalks meetup. I know I covered everything, but you guys have any questions?
No, you did. You answered everything.
You want to insert a question that I can edit into some of my rambling?
No, you're good.
All right. So
good. That was a great wrap up there. You did great work going there. Thank you.
Well, I do want to thank everyone who follows Duck Talks, because I did get the opportunity to go because of the podcast and the blogs. So, like I said, the media relations at DragonCon was phenomenal. That was a great group, and I'm looking forward to being able to interact with them in the future.
I just got to get media passes for D23.
Working on it. Well, that's going to do it for this week. We appreciate you joining us and hope you had a good time and you come back. Hey, while you're at it, if you're listening to us on a podcatcher, if you could give us a review or a star or a like or whatever it uses, we would appreciate that. Or if you're listening to us on YouTube, subscribe. That way you get a little notification. Click that bell. We got to get used to doing stuff like that. I've heard YouTubers say that. I don't really know what it means. I'm just kidding. Disney Dan, if he ever hears that, is going, you gotta subscribe, click the bell. Disney Dan doesn't
gotta pound that subscribe button.
Yeah. But yeah. It's late. Let's end this. Thanks for joining us, and until next time.
Same duck time, same duck channel.
Stay glum, go.